And we're back for another exciting week of the Creators Collective. And this week we have some fun things to talk about. At least I have fun things I want to talk about. I don't know about you guys, but they're fun to me. I do want to say a huge thank you to our patrons on Patreon. Especially this week, we have two new patrons. Caleb Harris from You Can Make This Too.
I know that
Great.
guy.
Yeah, great YouTube channel. Got to check him out. And then John from John Made It. Another cool content creator. So thank you guys for joining in, and you two are also joining the top patrons. So this week our top patrons are Darren Mates, Caleb Harris, and John. So thank you for that. And if you'd like to join us, you can find out more at patreon.com/creators collective. Also for news this week, we have started finally putting things up on SoundCloud. It takes a bit more for me to put things up there, so I'm finally getting around to doing that. But if you are a SoundCloud person, then I guess you haven't found us yet. But we do have the podcast now available on SoundCloud. So that's about it for our news and things. Let's jump into what's on the bench. Zach, since you're on the top list, what you got?
So this week I can like usually not even remember what I had for breakfast by like noon. I'm trying to remember what I did this past week.
There's a reason you're first on the list. It's so much fun to listen to you squirm.
Yeah. That's why I should go last, because I can plan the stuff out a little bit better. At least I can have a minute to figure out what I'm supposed to say. So yeah, I spent a lot of time forging stuff and working, trying to figure out, spent some time on my press, trying to figure out more hammer making stuff. And, I've heard it a million times before and I kind of half bought into it, but, people say you get a press or a power hammer and you can't do anything on those that you can't do by hand. And that is so true. If you don't know, if you don't have the skills to move the metal the way you want it to move, these big tools don't make it any easier. And I spent a lot of time this week actually making dies for punching out hammers, because that's something I really want to get into. So if you guys follow my Instagram stories, I actually broke H13 steel die for punching out the center hammers. It broke in 3 spots when I tried to press through it. So it's
Wow.
that's
impressive.
Yeah, and H13 is pretty tough stuff. I mean, it's kind of arguably the best steel for when you need something really, really hot that doesn't deform under heat. So it's definitely just the amount of time that I've spent trying to make the tools it's a whole new challenge in and of itself. I think I failed the other day. I was trying to get, because just punching the eyes out for the hammers, yeah, you can do it super quick on a press, but if you don't get it perfect, it's really easy to punch them off center and screw stuff up. So I actually screwed up 4 hammer blanks that I cut out of 5160 before I got just trying to mess with the die that I made for the press. I messed up 4 of those. Finally got frustrated, drove down to the steel place, bought a bunch of mild steel because it's a lot cheaper to screw that up than it is to screw up my blocks of 5160. And I just punched out 7 or 8 hammers and modified the die every time until I got it right. So and that's totally new for me. It's definitely learning through failure, but I finally got it figured out. And sometimes that's really the only way to do stuff. But I spent a lot of time doing that. And also the big news for this week is actually two big news. How do you say that?
Breaking news.
2 items of big news.
Yes. One is the video that I just released. It's a really simple project. I think it's simple. It's just that backlit LED sign. But the amount of time that I put into the shooting, the production, and the editing of that video is 5 times what I normally do. I spent more time editing the video and color grading and actually writing the music for the video, which is the second big news So my good friend John Bailey and we started a while back. We were talking about how there's, for this whole maker world and the whole YouTube thing, the most challenging thing, one of the most frustrating things for me is trying to find music that isn't objectionably terrible to use, that's royalty free. And so he's an amazing like producer. So we started writing music, and then we got the idea like, well, what if we put this out there? What if we just make no frills, like free, royalty free music that anybody can download and use, and there's no strings attached. It's just out there. And then we'll set up a Patreon, and hopefully the community, being as awesome as it is, will find value in that. And hopefully our Patreon will make it all worthwhile. So that's what we've been doing. The 2 tracks that were in the video that I just produced are the 2 that we wrote. And we also just launched our site with that video called amplitunes.com. So for anybody out there who, is looking for music that they can use in their videos, I think the production is very, very high quality. It doesn't sound, like that.
It's totally sweet. I'm actually gonna be using one of them in my video coming out today.
Awesome.
And I am a patron of yours now. So
yes,
you guys.
I don't know who was first, you or Paul Jackman, but I think. Beat me. Oh, did he? Yeah, nice. Well, you're giving us more money, so you're a favorite. You get priority. But I think I really truly think that it's going to take off. It is, so long as people find the value in it, and obviously you don't have to give us any money, or you don't have to support us to use our music, but it really does take a considerable amount of time and effort to write and record and edit songs. I mean, if you think it's equally laborious as I think that's the right word for is making a project, is making a song. It takes a lot of time, and John's super talented. So, well,
even for the price of a Patreon, it's far cheaper than any other music place you're going to get. If you throw a few bucks at it a month, that's phenomenal.
And I think it's going to do well, especially since it's out there now. And I know Jimmy DeResta is going to use some of it in his videos. So I think, when people start putting it in their videos, and the only thing we ask is just, throw our names in the credits so that other people can find us. But I think I've talked about this enough. I should say though, that if you do become a patron on Patreon.
I'm
really struggling today with English.
No.
But we're hoping to do like maybe probably 2 to 3 new tracks a month, and we have different genres. John is, I can play instruments. John can turn it into anything. He's incredible. So
I love his electric stuff.
It's ridiculous. The guy, I mean, he is seriously one of the most talented human beings I've ever met in my life. It's incredible. But for any of our patrons, if you guys like our music, if you support us, give us recommendations of genres or types of songs that you want, and you're going to get priority. So if you want James is being our second patron. He wants some sort of folk tunes, so probably in the next month we'll create some folk tunes that he can use on his channel, and anybody can use. So anyway, I'm done talking about this. It's been forever.
I wish I had known about the amplitunes.com, that you actually launched the website and everything, because I just put a video out on music for videos like last Friday. But yeah, so anywho.
Well, what you got, Will?
So good segue. I just put out a video on music for your videos for my film school last Friday, with a big highlight on Artlist.io, which I am an affiliate of theirs. And so that had a pretty good response. And I got some people that signed up for it. And I think it's really, not to steal from Zack's, big news. But I think Artlist is also a really great resource, but it's not free. So,
well, ours is, so there.
So
we're better. And we're makers.
And you're makers. Yeah.
Yeah. Support us.
Yeah. Support them and Artlist, because that supports me. I've got big news. So I talked about how we're putting a pool in last week. Well, they actually started on Tuesday, and holy crap, it's bigger than I realized. So they got the track hoe out on Tuesday and dug the hole, and I was out shooting transit, trying to get elevations for the building that I'm going to build next to.
I thought you said you were building a pool. That's a lake, dude.
It's friggin' big. They dug the hole, and I was like, "Oh no, this is like," because I had marked it out, I had sprayed it out in marking paint on the ground, and it doesn't look the same. You know, it's just a white line on grass. But when they dig a hole, it's like, oh, that's quite large. So that's what I've been wrapping my head around, is making sure that I have all my ducks in a row, and I'm meeting with subcontractors and trying to do elevations, doing a lot of stuff in SketchUp to show, you know, to kind of plan the space, which has been really cool because it's gotten me a lot more familiar with SketchUp because it was by necessity. Like I had to do it, where I never taught myself SketchUp for woodworking because I could always just actually like draw it on a piece of paper, and that was quicker for me. But so now I'm going to start transitioning into SketchUp for woodworking, and I'm actually submitting my first like plan to toolstoday.com, which is a company that I've worked with before, and I make videos for their channel and their website, and it's a really good relationship. Other than that, I started work on finally on that mulberry live edge bench, which turns out the guy that wanted me to build it for him is moving and no longer needs the bench, but I'd started it anyway. So it's going to have white oak, iron buffed white oak bench base with a mulberry top. So it'll be almost like the legs will be almost black. And it'll be a low bench. So it'll be about 16.5 inches tall instead of the normal like 17 to 19. But what else? And my dining table, I'm making headway trying to wrap that project up, the walnut dining table. I got the leg blanks glued up, and they're both about 40 pounds, and I have to turn them on the lathe, and I'm kind of scared to turn the lathe on. Because, yeah, that's scary. And the last thing is I went out last night. I got invited to some kind of beginner woodworkers had found me on YouTube and invited me out to happy hour. And so I said, yeah, sure. Like I'll go. And I showed up, and one of them actually, he knew my background in photography and woodworking. So he had this antique 4x5 large format camera that needs a little bit of work, but he gave it to me.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, that's really cool. So
that'd make an awesome video.
Yeah, trying to kind of restore that, you know, bring it to its former glory. But it was so nice of him. I thought I should talk about it on the show today, just to give him kind of a thank you, you know. So other than that, I think that's everything. That's all my big news is.
Cool.
That's all your big news is for the day?
That's all my big news is for the day, yeah.
I feel like that should be a band.
The big news is for the day?
Yeah.
Or just the big news is?
Just maybe like Huey Lewis and the Newses.
That's good. I like it. James, what do you got going on, man?
Well, I am getting more and more into the live videos. I really enjoy doing these. They're fairly easy to make, and the audience is great. And so we've had as many as 1,000 people live on there. And the fun thing is my wife actually mans the chat, and so you get to actually talk with her behind my back while I'm working on a project. And we've started working on a joinery window, which is you take 6 boards and 9 joints, and each joint is different. And so it's a good way to practice joints, and you end up with this really worthless thing in the end that looks like a window. But you were taking each, so 9 weeks, each of the live chats, the live videos will be doing a separate joint in it. And so we'll be going into detail on each of these joints and how I make them. And you can watch me mess up and make mistakes and all the little behind the scenes things that normally just get edited out of the video for time's sake. You actually get to see what all goes into actually making the joint. So those are turning into a lot of fun. We're trying to do those Tuesday nights now. So if you want to see those, hop over to my channel. And then also the dining table. Yes, I finally have the two sides jointed together, flipped them over, and I'm flattening them. So today I'm going to be working on the edge, getting that all cleaned up and ready to go, and possibly doing the last epoxy pour on the top, filling all of the little voids and bug holes and things like that. So this is coming together, and this thing is huge. I mean, it is incredibly massive, and I am so looking forward to having this upstairs. So hopefully next week I'm going to start working on the base for it. And if you've seen any pictures of that, it's going to be it's a kind of a interesting take on a trestle base. So I'm looking forward to doing that. But that's about it for what's going on in my shop. Let's see. Do we have any questions?
I think we do. Yeah. A few questions, actually.
Cool.
This one's from Alexandre Villeneuve. James, you want to take a stab at that one?
Yeah. Bob Renzira?
Yeah. Have you guys had any creepy fan encounters? And I think he means like fans of the channels or podcasts, not like a ceiling fan.
I've had a couple that were just kind of, I don't know if they were like overly excited or just naturally that way, that were just kind of like, oh, okay. But not bad. Just kind of, I think that people expect us to be something other than regular people sometimes. And that kind of gets odd.
I had a comment the other day on my sign video and somebody said, "I'm not gay, but ... something like that." That's how the message started. It's kind of flattering, actually.
That's funny. I had somebody. I had a similar comment on.
I wonder if it's the same guy.
It was like, yeah, totally not gay, bro, but creepy fan. No, I had one time I was at Lowe's and I was walking out. I needed like mineral spirits or something, and I'm walking out, and a guy was loading his truck with some plywood, and he's like, "Will Walker," and I was like, "Yeah, that's me." And I was like, "Crap, do I know you from like? Have I met you before? Like, you know, have I just forgotten your face?" And he's like, "No, you're Will Walker from YouTube." And I went, "Oh yeah, I am." And then I tried to play it cool, and I was like, "Hey, yeah, like cool. So yeah, what are you working on, man?" As he's loading plywood into his truck, and he goes, no, nothing. And I was like, "What's the plywood for?" "Oh, I'm just making a bed." And I was like, "Okay. Do you want to? What's the bed like?" And he was it's just a bed. It's whatever." And I was like, "All right, man."
Torture dungeon.
Yeah, I was like, "Cool, man. Well, thanks for watching." And then I left, and it was just funny.
Sounds more awkward than creepy.
Yeah, I think he was just like, you know, like called my name out and he's like, "Crap, now I have to talk." Like, and you know, oh my God, it's the guy from YouTube.
What's kind of strange for me, like, I guess it's not creepy, but it's kind of weird, is that usually people ask like, "Hey man, can I, come by your shop on such and such day?" And I'm like, "Yeah, man, we'll make something or whatever." So I have every now and then somebody swings by, and nobody ever asks for my address, but everybody always shows up to my house, which is just kind of weird.
That is weird. Do you have it like anywhere, like on your?
Yeah, it's on my website.
Okay,
I should probably take it off my website now. I trust you, podcast listeners. I'm not going to take it down, but nobody lives around here anyway, so
that's funny. I had another. I'm going to do another take on creepy fan encounter. I've got 26-foot ceilings in my great room, and I had to, when I was building the house, I had to install the fan, like the big fan for the great room, and I borrowed a buddy's scaffolding, but he didn't have all the braces. Like he just couldn't find some of the braces, so and it was on wheels, and so I'm standing on a 2x10. They didn't even have the proper walkboard for the top of the scaffolding, so I'm $3 up on scaffolding on a 2x10, and my wife is pushing me like into position, like so I can get around this thing. And because it didn't have the right braces, the whole scaffolding is like racking. And I was just like, oh my God, this is so creepy. So that's my creepy fan encounter.
Oh, no fun.
Yeah. I think my wife cried because she was scared, but
let's see. We have another question from Derek Ons. I want to get more into hand tools. Need a better plane, but I have a poorly made Amazon hand plane. I think is the lack of quality is the reason I don't think to use it much. There are do not buy hand planes from the big box store. Yes, they are cheap, but they are cheap. And with a lot of work, you can make them work for about 5 minutes, and then they go out of tune, and you have to work on them again. They're just not worth the money. They are there merely so that the big box store can say that it has a hand plane for sale. That being said, I would not recommend a new plane that is less than $100. Now, I've been told the ones from Grizzly are decent, but I haven't had a chance to try them. I would like to. I have not yet. But yeah, I've not found one other than the Stanley Sweetheart planes. Those are the cheapest that I have played with that I would recommend. And even those are going to take a little bit of work, but they'll work for you. They're somewhat decent.
I know Mike Pekovich from Fine Woodworking, or is it Popular Woodworking?
Fine
Woodworking. Anyway, Mike Pekovich, who is an incredible woodworker. Just his Instagram feed is like, oh my gosh. But he did a kind of a what do you call it? Like a seminar, like I don't know, where you stand in front of a bunch of people and you talk, and there's like, you have your little microphone, and there's like a conference. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Anyway, he did a whole thing on the Stanley Sweetheart series, and setting him up, and if he can vouch for him, then that's saying something, because he's Mike Pekovich.
Now, I would like to get my hand on the Grizzly planes. They're
I know a guy
relatively cheap, but
yeah, I should probably. I'm going to talk to my guys at Grizzly and see if they can send me their set and kind of run them through their paces and try to put out like an honest. I've got some.
Tell them to send them to each of us, and then we can all do like a collaboration with their planes.
I would like some good hand chisels, because I don't have any good ones. I bought like a set of the DeWalt ones, like the 4 DeWalt chisels that come in like a hard plastic wrap thing. Like
like a framer's chisel.
No, I mean they're wood chisels, but they're not. I don't know. They're DeWalt.
Not like the handles or the steel, or
I don't know. They work. I feel like I'm probably missing out on what it's like to have a good set of them. I got or a couple of years ago, I got some of the Narex, or just one of the Narex corner chisels, the 90-degree chisels, and I was pretty impressed with that. I still have it, but my main work chisels are just like the DeWalt ones, so they work, but I feel like I've said work a whole lot in the past few sentences. Yeah, I don't know.
I like my Stanley Sweetheart chisels.
Are they new or old?
No, they're the new ones.
Yeah. How much are they?
Well, it depends on how many you get. You can
obviously,
because you can buy them in kits. You can buy like you can buy 1 chisel, or you can buy a 4 chisel set or 7 chisel set. I think I got the 4 chisel set and then added an 1/8-inch chisel, and it was like $100, I think, or $75, something like that.
See, I've never been a big fan of the socket chisels, but a lot of people really like them.
Yeah, I I didn't like them at first because the handles weren't fit properly, and they would drop, and so it was like, I was scared for my toes, and my concrete floor. But I've gotten to like them a lot better, and they're super easy to sharpen. Like the steel is like that perfect like blend of, it's not too hard that it takes forever to sharpen, but it still holds an edge.
Yeah,
and they stay sharp for quite a while.
So one of the projects I want to do is actually, I have a set of the Harbor Freight wooden handled chisels, and the steel is not the best, but it still holds an edge nicely, and you're going to sharpen them a little bit more often, but not that bad. Not for, spending $9 for 6 chisels. But what I want to do is take the handles off and make handles that I like, because a lot of people really worry a lot about the steel and the chisels, and I think that's like the last thing to consider when picking a chisel, because you're going to have to sharpen them. It's just you're going to have to sharpen them a little bit more if you get cheaper steel, but it's not that much more. The big difference for me is the handles. You got to have something that's comfortable in your hand. You got to have something you like to use. You got to have something that feels good to you.
I still want to, while we're on the subject of, sharp, pokey things, I know we'd mentioned Timber Slick, Will, a while back, and I'm still totally game for that, forging one. I'm waiting on, so I have a tempering oven coming from Even Heat, and I can't really make any quality hardened steel products until I get that tempering oven. I can quench them, but then they're super brittle and I need to temper them back down. So I should have that in like a week or two. And then I'm probably just going to go gung ho making, destructive things, like hammers and knives and all sorts of fun stuff.
You should make a throwing axe.
I'd love to. Actually, I started listening to the Fools with Tools podcast. And one of their earlier episodes, they were talking, I can't remember how it came about, but somehow they started talking about spaxes, which is like a combination between a spoon and an axe, which is not a thing. I think, I remember. So it was like, apparently, I don't remember all the details, but there was an axe and the handle came loose. So somebody cut the head off of a spoon and wedged it in the handle to tighten it back up, and then the term spax was coined on the podcast. And I think it would be super awesome to make a spax. It's a total waste of time, like make something beautiful and just completely devalue it by shimming it with a spoon. But
most useless tool ever.
But that's the stuff people like worthless things on YouTube. It seems.
Like, no, and you could open the box of cereal like with the axe, and then like I know that I want to end the video with me like eating cereal with it, and then like throwing it and sticking it into a wall, like in the same cut. Yeah, first try.
Yeah, I doubt it. I know exactly if I ever actually do this, I know exactly what's going to happen. I'll have the cereal, I'll throw the axe, and immediately bust the spoon off of the eye of the handle. Anyway.
Fun.
Yeah. I don't know how we got to talking about.
We got another question from Castow.
Castow?
It says Castow. So
okay. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Hola, Fidel.
If you had to start over on YouTube, like from scratch, what would be your topic for your channel? I guess that James would start over with a power tool enthusiast. I've actually thought about this quite a bit, and I don't think I would change anything about the topic of the channel. I know that my quality would be much better because I've learned so much in the last 3 years that that's the biggest thing with starting a channel is learning how to actually work it, how to edit videos, how to shoot them, and that's
still learning. Yeah,
but I don't know if I would change my. I don't know if I would change the topic. What about you guys?
I've been toying with this for a while. If I started over again, it would probably be a photography, videography channel, which I don't think is any surprise to anybody here. But I don't know. I feel like it's the same in the making community. Like there's, a lot of channels kind of around that theme. So I don't know. That's hard. I think the smart thing to do would be, if you're going to start a channel from scratch, have a really niche, super niche kind of theme, kind of like be the only one and be unique. And I don't know what that would be.
If you're looking for success, it's funny. I was thinking the same thing the other day. First, let me answer the question. If I were to start over, I don't think I'd do anything different. I would just try and console myself and tell myself that you're doing everything right. Like, do what you want to do. Don't try and chase trends and analytics and all of that, because it takes the fun out of it. And that's not why we got into this. We didn't get into this. I don't think anybody quit their day job and got into woodworking or fabrication because they wanted to make a ton of money. I think I've said it before, and I think that if you love something, you'll get good at it. So keep that, as soon as you start taking the passion out of what you're doing, and as soon as it becomes about numbers and the analytics, if that's more important than enjoying yourself, then you're doomed. But yeah, I think what Will said, though, there is something, if you have a niche that you're really interested in, I think that is the surest way to success. Because you look at like Bobby Duke, who carves amazing things. And I think like a year ago he had nothing, and now he's probably at 1 million subscribers like in a year, which is completely unheard of. It's insane. And he deserves it. He does amazing. Where else it's doing it? And that every time he puts out a project, it's super unique. You can't find it on any other channels. And also Heath Knuckles, same thing. He's been doing amazing work with epoxy and wood. I think he's kind of like the epoxy god of YouTube. His castings, or I don't know if that's what you call them, but they're just so amazing. They suck you in. And as much as everybody's doing epoxy everything now, he has if you're familiar with his work and his channel, it's nobody does it like he does. So I think, Will, you're spot on when you're mentioning finding some sort of niche to get into. I think that's a really good formula.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we have the Creators Photo Challenge. This is the off week. So last week we announced that we will be due next week. So make sure to get your pictures in for that. And this time we have the rule of thirds, which, if you don't know what that is, go back and listen to last week or Google it. There's a lot of good information on that. So we're looking for a picture on Instagram with rule of thirds, and use the hashtag Creators Photo Challenge, and you will be entered to win something. And I think it's my week to give them something. So there'll probably be a t-shirt, maybe a card scraper. I don't know. We'll see.
Oh yeah. And I sent all my shirts out the other day. So I think I'm like pretty much all caught up and sold out again already.
Nice.
I never order enough. I always think that so I usually order like 25 shirts at a time, and I'm like, that'll get me by. And then I do a post on Instagram and sell out, which is a good problem.
Well, we do have a joke of the week, and this we actually asked for a joke of the week in the chat, and several people gave us a couple renditions on the same one. So this one we're going to throw the shout out to the Filament company.
Yeah, that came in via Instagram about 10 minutes ago, and then the duck also said the same joke. But yeah, so why did the 2x4 get put in the corner? Because it was Knotty pine.
That one's actually pretty good. That one made me giggle.
Yes. If you have your worst joke you've ever told, please send it to us. We will use it.
I can't believe this is still going.
I know. It's
we started this when Johnny was on the podcast, didn't we?
We had one in the first podcast.
I think we might have. Wow. And they just keep coming. It's crazy. Like I always say, we're going to run out, and there's always another one every episode.
Cool. Well, let's get into what has been inspiring us. What are we watching, reading? Will, why don't you lead us off?
I got to give a shout out to Paul Jackman because he made a video on just some lumber racks for his shop, but he did it in the style of You Suck at Cooking, which is one of my absolute favorite channels. So he did a You Suck at Woodworking version, and it was funny. It was good. So yes. Good job, Paul.
I love the low pressure cutter.
Yeah. James, what are you watching?
Worth the effort. On the YouTube channel, he used to be predominantly hand tools, but has been going a little bit more hybrid and working with other things. Just general woodworking education, and a really cool channel with a lot of information. But today's video on my channel is making a tri-square, and it's kind of saying thank you to him because he had made a video a while ago about making a grooving plane that kind of changed the way I looked at woodworking and was one of the big reasons why I became a hand tool woodworker. So without his channel, Wood by Right would probably not be here, or at least be what it is today. So thanks for that.
Wow.
But definitely go check it out.
Wow, that's like getting deep.
Yeah.
I made a video a while back on making a tri-square, so I'm interested to see how you go about it versus how I went about it.
For such a simple tool, there are 1,000 ways to do it.
Yeah, I went the Chris Schwarz / Roy Underhill method because there's a Woodwright Shop episode about tri-squares, and I basically just followed that.
Mine's fairly simple, but with a few other oddities. So I kind of made it also into a marking gauge as well. So kind of a fun multi-tool.
Interesting. I'm excited to see that. Zach, how about you?
Yes. I am going to recommend my buddy Jacob Ferrum, who is a blacksmith, and he makes a lot of amazing stuff. And also he's an amazing guy. I talk to him quite a bit on Facebook, and I'm sure he's probably annoyed with answering all of my questions, and I have so many. But I mean, he has a pretty strong reputation in the blacksmithing community, and he's just a good dude. He does amazing work. So if you're into that sort of thing, give him a follow. Yeah, that's my suggestion for the week.
Cool. Do you have a tool of the week?
Not yet. Why doesn't somebody else go?
I love doing that too.
James, what's your tool of the week?
I have to go with the tri-square. I don't know if there's a project out there where I don't use a tri-square. I know a lot of people really like using a combination square. I am not a fan of a combination square. I've not found one that I like. Whereas a tri-square is just so quick and easy. It's simple. It's always there. And I really like it. So it is my my go-to tool of the week.
I do love a good tri-square.
You got Will?
So I've got two, just because I had
two. I can do that too.
Because I can. I'm Will Walker. I can have two if I want. You can't stop me. So got to mention Artlist again. It's an awesome tool for filmmaking and just getting just really, really cinematic type music.
Sorry, who else does that?
You hadn't launched when I made that video. Otherwise, I would have thrown you in there too. But early bird, whatever. And the other one is
free bird gets the worm.
Does anybody have a lighter?
Yeah. Did I tell you guys I actually saw Leonard Skinner like probably 1 month ago?
Like in the grocery store, or like
yeah, in concert.
Wow!
All one original members were there.
Yeah, it's like the bass player, right? The guy who didn't die.
The guitar player. It is like one of the 3 original guitar players.
And isn't it like the brother of the lead singer? Or is that
youngest brother?
Okay.
It had its moments. It was pretty good. I mean, I can't say it's not the same because obviously, I'm 30 something years old and I never saw the original band, but it was good, but it was more like a tribute to the
Yeah,
to the
I
real,
bought I
the real
bought
deal.
their first album that wasn't, you know, the original Freebird when I was in high school. Like it was like, oh, Leonard Skinner, and I think I listened to the whole album like once.
Yeah, they're you know, it was never the same without, you know, imagine
Yeah,
that you lose like 80% of the band and they don't sound the same afterwards.
yeah,
So, but I mean, it was good. I'm not saying it was bad, but yeah.
yeah. All right. Well, my other tool of the week is Kling Spores sandpaper. They're 5-inch 9-hole discs that fit a Festool Rotex 125. The paper is like super high quality, and it's about half the price of Festool paper. So that's my other tool. Go check them out, and they're not affiliate. I just like them.
Sweet. Have you come up with one, Zach?
I did. You guys want to hear it?
Yeah. I want to hear it.
Peace.
So actually, since I've been spending a lot of time on it lately, I'm going to go with my brand new Anvil that I ordered, which I've had for a few weeks. I finally got it on a stand a couple weeks ago. There will be a video for that, by the way, but I got the 250-pound Fontanini, aka Rat Hole Forge Anvil. And it's amazing. I jumped up from a 70-pound Farrier's anvil to the 250-pound, tool steel anvil, and it seems like the metal moves itself on that thing. It's incredible what a difference it makes. So yeah, anybody looking to drop 2G on an anvil, it's a good one. I think it's actually 1800, but anvils are hard to come by. They're expensive. And it seems to me that the older and crappier and more broken they are, the more money people want for them.
Yeah.
It's almost nowadays, it's cheaper to get a brand new anvil than it is to get an old one. And I know there's a lot of love for like the old, Fishers and Haybuttons and stuff like that out there, which are fantastic anvils, but, there's some good new stuff out there as well, but definitely do your research, because there's a lot of crappy anvils out there too. So
that's I found the same thing, because I've been on the lookout for an anvil for a long time. And in like all the flea markets and antique shops around me, they all want like collector's prices for them, and they're, like you said, like, there's what they call them, a wallow, or where they're like dished out from years and years of use. And then I finally looked up anvils that don't suck. And
that should be a website. Anvils.com.
And I found, like you can find some, lower poundage. They're not 250 pounds, but lower poundage from reputable brands that aren't crazy expensive. Like
there are some good ones out there. It just really depends. I mean, I think if it's something that you are not sure if you're going to get into it or not, I don't know. I think I can see getting like a 100-pound ish, or 75 to 150 pound anvil if you're just starting out and you're not really sure. If it's something that for a fact you're going to get into, and you're just going to stick with it, then save the money and get something nice. It's going to cost you, probably at least $1,000 or close to it if you want something. I'd say definitely over 120, 150 pounds or up. It makes such a difference. This is coming from somebody who used to do everything on a 70-pound Farrier's anvil, and going to this 250-pound anvil is such a huge difference. It's not just bragging rights or anything. It's just so much more efficient working on a larger anvil. So, but there are some good brands out there. I mean, the one that I started out on is NC Tools anvil, and the shape of the Farrier's anvil is kind of frustrating for ornamental stuff. It makes it a little bit harder to work around the horn, because the horns on Farrier's anvils are kind of flat on the top instead of round. So if you're trying to draw material out, or make, concentric like circles and curves. It's a little bit more difficult on, but it can be done. And I've heard good things about, I think Texas Farrier Supply has some decent anvils. And I think all of those are ductile iron. So they're actually not like a tool steel. But there's some mixed opinions on there. I mean, they're not bad, but I don't think they're quite as nice as something with like a tool steel top on it. But there's some options out there. Pettinghaus makes really good stuff, which is owned by Rigid now. So, yeah.
Cool. Well, I think that about does it for this week. We have beaten this dead horse to life. Oh, come on. That was funny.
Was it?
Yes, in my mind it was. I thought that was a very good one, but apparently not. So I do want to say thank you to our patrons on Patreon, particularly Caleb, John, and Darren for being our top patrons of the month. And if you'd like to find out more about that, you can go to patreon.com/Creators Collective. Also, you can find us on iTunes, SoundCloud, Google, and wherever else you listen to your podcasts. If you have any questions for us, feel free to send us, and we will try and get those on the air. And that about does it for this week. So until next time, see you later.
Later.
See you guys.